I would say that the first important thing would be to change the mindset about agriculture in Africa. And this is already happening in some African countries. And it is important that people start seeing agriculture as a national priority and a strategy, but also as a business opportunity. And a national priority because it is proven that growth in agriculture is twice as effective in reducing poverty as growth in other sectors. So this is especially true in countries with high rural poverty rates, which is the case of most countries in Africa. And we have some really good examples of countries that heavily invested in agriculture in the last years, and they are now benefiting for better levels of food security and from a vibrant agricultural sector. It's the case of Kenya or Ghana and Ethiopia. And another reason why it should be seen as a priority is that agriculture may be part of the answer for one of Africa's biggest challenges in the coming years, which is high unemployment rates, especially among young people. And if we consider that 65% of the African population works in agriculture, and that we are talking about an extremely young population, with 75% being 25 years old or under, and a population that is still predominantly rural and will remain like that at least for the next 30 years, we realize that the only sector with the capacity to absorb this working force, at least for now, is agriculture. And so it would be important to present it, especially for young people, as an attractive alternative, not as the only choice for those who do not make it to the cities and to the urban labor market. As this mindset is changed, it is also important to focus on what is the reality of agriculture in Africa. And it's obviously a quite diverse reality, and it depends on a lot of factors that vary country by country, region by region, and even within the same country, there are differences that determine agriculture productivity and agriculture. But I would say that we can identify two main trends or two main types of agriculture in Africa. And the first one, that is definitely most predominant, is smallholder farming. And smallholder farming accounts for the majority of agricultural production in Africa. In some countries, smallholder farmers produce up to 80% of the consumed food and food products. So it's really important. And associated with this smallholder farming is subsistence farming. That is when the farmer produces only what he needs to feed himself and his family. So we have this reality that is widespread, and that it reflects what goes in, what's most common in agriculture in Africa. But at the same time, in some countries, we also have a strong and export-oriented sector, focused in products like cocoa or oil palm or cotton. And what happens is that when these two types of agriculture coexist, sometimes this strong and export-oriented sector tends to attract all the investment and the attention. And so it is important for governments to rethink the balance between these two types of agriculture. Poverty in Africa is still a predominantly rural phenomena, and the rural poor in Africa, like in other places, they tend to be much more vulnerable than the urban poor. And we cannot have sustainable growth in agriculture if we do not invest in rural development and in the empowerment of those communities, and especially in rural governance. So I would say that this is a challenge, and that this is something that is really required in order to attain sustainable growth in agriculture. A second challenge is technology. There's still a lot to be done. There's a huge technological gap. And to meet this challenge, governments will need a lot of both public and private investment. And associated with this, we have research. And research is proved to be quite an efficient tool to sustainably improve agricultural growth. And if we consider that in Africa we have only 70 agricultural researchers for every million population, and that the number for Latin America is 550 and for North America is 2,640, we realize that there's still a lot to be done here.